What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, guys, today's topic. We're going to talk about Florida State University wide receiver Tamorrion Terry. This is a individual that has a pretty large following within this community here, guys. I mean, I know a few of you guys have definitely mentioned his name quite a few times to me, like, Gate, can you do a breakdown on him? Can you tell us, like, what do you see from Tamorrion Terry? Is the hype real around him? I'm going to tell you right now, complex. This is another one of these complex kind of recruits to break down. Because I'll be honest and upfront with you guys right from the start. Had Tamorrion Terry declared for the NFL draft last year, I think he stood a shot at being a top 100 football player. Currently, he's more so like a top 150, almost 200 range, but a lot of the mock drafts have him being mocked in the fourth, okay? Difficult person to break down because his 2019 tape, guys, is a whole lot different from the 2020 tape. I'll tell you that right from the jump.
Game against Louisiana Monroe last week, 30 for 40. And a wild game. He'll air it out quickly and complete as he...
Let me give you guys some positive attributes about the young man. This young man ran about a 4.45 at his pro day. Most scouting services will tell you you always add a fifth of a tenth of a second to a hand timer. I'm sorry, I keep doing that motion. But anytime you do that, so you're really looking at something that says 4.45, is more like a 4.540. But for a guy his size, like a 6'3", almost 210-pound receiver, that's not a horrible size, guys. He's got adequate foot speed on the outside.
Orderbrook gets rid of it quickly, wide open. Busted coverage, Terry. Room service.
Some of the other things I'll tell you right from the jump, guys, where I thought he was really good, was an 81.2 grade versus man coverage. I thought that given his size, given what he can do to a defensive back that cannot match him physically in that, that element of having a fairly good reach, right? Pretty big wingspan, that he can go up and take balls away from guys, even if a guy's playing pretty good technique on him.
And Mike Norvell's thoughts to you, Catherine. In a moment, Jordan Travis begins this second half with a flip up top, and it is caught, held on to by Terry.
There's some guys that can erase things on you. In saying that, guys, you go into his contested catch rate. His contested catch rate is 63%. You can watch plays down the field here, and it just depends on the play you're watching with Tamorrion Terry. Truth be told, there are times I watch him on film, and I'm like, wow, like, you're telling me this guy's a fourth-round talent? Like, I see, like, second to third-round talent here.
Blackman dropping back, looking downfield, throws over the center, and
then there are other times I watch it, and I say, yeah, I see this. Like, I think even the fourth round could be a risk. It just depends, man. It depends on the year of the film you're watching with Tamorrion Terry, because he just wasn't productive in 2020, guys. 2020 hit him hard. The game I'm going to break down for you today, and I'm going to show you the highlights of, is from Notre Dame, because it's the only game that you can even really use from his film. Everything else it's really complex. He had 2 games where he had absolutely no catches at all in Louisville and Miami. He had 1 game where he only had 2 catches against Pittsburgh for like 14 yards. He only played in like 6 games, so 3 out of those 6 games right from the jump. You can't really do anything with those games. There's just not a lot to show you there.
Motion. Travis flushed, flips, up in the air. Terry went to get it. Oh, he lost the ball.
And that's the scary part about Tamorrion Terry. Because as talented as I think he is at times, and I think you can see it in glimpses on the film, something sparks at you. There's something there about him.
2 of the 35 games he played in. Quick throw and a quick hit. Terry, touch.
He didn't run a very broad route tree, guys. I'm going to tell you right now, just off the top of my head, that the routes that I remember distinctly seeing, that I can tell you with 100% accuracy, probably made up 75, 80% of the reps I watched him run, were just simple things like hitch route.
At this moment, 2nd and 10, Travis on the edge. in some trouble. So Koromoa grabbed him, but he compared. And
I saw him run a lot of comeback, and I saw him run a lot of curl routes.
Blackman throws. It's complete for the first down.
Slant routes, definitely, and go routes. I will say from time to time, when I broke down film on the young man, I will say that the offensive coordinator at Florida State did try to throw some things in there for double moves with him, and it's a complex issue when we look at the issue of double moves.
Usu Koromoa directing traffic. Travis. Travis loading up, going downfield. There's a chance, and it's brought in by Hilton.
Because on one hand, I do think at times he takes a little too long to sell the double move. But I don't know. I think there might be some misjudgment going on around the scouting community right now that says that he's too slow to sell the move means he's got really bad hips. I think there are some nuance there, and I do think he gets kind of tall on his brakes at times, to be quite honest. I don't think he is the greatest at sinking those hips, per se. But I also think it might come down to more so a misunderstanding from a young player of how to read coverage. I don't think that he's had an adequate education from the coaching staff at Florida State on defeating certain coverages. So there are times where he's running a double move against a certain coverage and he doesn't have the leverage, and it makes it look a lot worse than the reality is.
Are they getting close to Purdy? Will we see him down the line? Are they getting close to Purdy? Will we see him down the line?
Because on the inverse, I have seen times where he reads the coverage correctly, he uses the double move, and the double move gives him great separation for that 6'3" frame to be a nightmare down the field. I've seen both sides of it. I've seen both sides of the story, guys. And if you go to 2019 and you look at his percentages and the way that his routes broke down, he had 23 attempts on deep balls. 6 of those were completions. Not a high completion rate per se, but a high touchdown rate on those 6 completions. 4 of them went into the end zone. I think he averaged, I want to say it was like 50-some yards per reception down the field, guys, in 2019. It was something like crazy to that level. On the intermediate route area, so between 10 yards and 19 yards, he had 17 catches on 32 attempts. Fairly decent, receiver if you look at 2019 in terms of the distance and where the routes were being taken from. He had 6 contested catches on 10 contested throws. Showed that he could be a contested catch guy. And from 10 yards or above, so from 10 yards to 99 yards, guys, he had 7 touchdowns in 2019. On the short, he's always run a lot of short routes. You're going to see a lot of slants. You're going to see a lot of hitches on his film. It gets to the point of being, like, frustrating because it happens so often. I mean, it's a ridiculous number of those things on his film. 26 catches, 37 passing attempts, guys, 337 yards on that. 4 contested catches on 10 contested throws. That one was a little, looks like to me he's allowing some of the corners to get in there. So that's where the hip placement and running the routes properly kind of comes in place here. And he had a touchdown on the year on that. You compare that to his 2020 numbers. We're talking about 6 games, guys. So, I mean, I understand, take everything with a grain of salt, but 3 catches on 9 attempts, 126 yards, 1 contested catch on 1 contested throw, and a touchdown. That touchdown was something special. On the intermediate route level, 4 catches, 10 attempts, 65 yards, 1 contested catch on 4 contested throws, no touchdowns. On the short, 11 catches on 14 attempts. Much better in the short game during the small sample size of 2020, guys. 75 yards, 3 contested catches on 3 contested throws. And then he played a little bit behind the line of scrimmage. He had 11 catches behind the line of scrimmage in 2019. He had 5 catches behind the line of scrimmage in 2020. So, it's complex. He had a lot of yak, guys. He had over 100 yards of yak on the deep, the intermediate, and the short routes in 2019. But then when you go and you look at the yak percentages and the yardage he was gaining on 2020's film, and if you took behind the line of scrimmage and added it with the short, you added it with the intermediate game and the vertical game, the deep game, guys, you're still talking about maybe $120, and I think it's a little less than 120 yards in total between all 4. When he had 121 yards alone just on the deep concepts of 20 yards or more in 2019 alone. So it just depends on what year you're watching film and how you feel about this young man.
20,000, roughly. Blackman gets rid of it here, and it's Tamorrion Terry, and he's got the first down. Terry, their most receiver, and he might.
It's not a very diverse route tree. He's not a very nuanced route runner. He didn't get in my opinion, I don't think he got in an adequate coaching. I don't think he was coached correctly at Florida State. And I think that's a big knock on Florida State's college. I think if you look at some of the underlying, statistical data, like the analytics on him, there are a few things that kind of concern you. His breakout age was 20 and a half years old. That's because he redshirted his freshman year. And we do know that they want to see players get 20% dominator ratings. That's the breakout age, 20% of a team's yardage and touchdowns before the age of 19, or not much longer after it. 20 and a half is significantly after it. So that's going to come into consideration. Then his college dominator for, I think it was 2020, was only like 36.3%. So 36%, they look for about 45% or higher. He's almost a full 10 percentage points lower there, guys. So, I mean, that's, he's 9 percentage points lower there. That's a concern. So, I mean, some of the underlying data concerns you, right? I mean, if you look at his yards per route run, it's under 2 yards. They want that marker to be 2 yards or above. It's crazy because it just depends on what year you're looking at this young man. You got over 50 yards per reception on average in 2019 on vertical concepts. And then at the same time, when you look at his long-term trajectory on the yards per route run, because he's running so many of these hitches and he's just nonsense, limited route tree stuff, you got less than 2 yards.
Great move. He read it all the way, and if that ball's on target.
It's a big contradiction here. Any team taking a shot on this young man is going to look at the attributes, but they're going to be mindful of the advanced analytics not matching it. The film being a little iffy on it. Like, there's just no doubt about that. But with that said, guys, I still think that this is a guy that if you really need an X or tall vertical slot, I think you look at a guy like Tamorrion Terry, who played all three alignments. He showed you some versatility. I don't think he's to the level of some of those first round, second round graded guys like a Terrace Marshall and a Rashad Bateman in terms of the versatility and the flexibility of the big guys that can move all around the alignments. I don't think he's quite that. But, I mean, he does give you some flexibility, and he could bring competition into, a split end boundary side receiver room where you need competition. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of Tamorrion Terry? What are your thoughts on him? I know this is going to probably be one of these ones where we're going to be a little split in our opinion here, and it's fine. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you think about Tamorrion Terry? Don't forget, guys, if you want to support the channel, you can like and comment on the video. That's what spikes the algorithm and gets it suggested to other people. And then also, if you're not subscribed, I'd love to add you to the community. But in order to do that, guys, I'm going to need you to hit that subscription button. All right, y'all. Peace. I'm out of here.